You know, there was a battle between two Canadian teams for a spot in the Western Conference Finals, and the Canadian team won. Vancouver has a majority of non Canadians on their roster, and although they had the best regular season record, they couldn't outlast the Oilers. Oilers wrapped it up with a 3-2 victory in Vancouver on May 20th. But today we're not going to be talking too much about the upcoming series. We're going to be talking about the history between the two clubs, going back all the way to the Minnesota North Stars of the 1980s and 90s, who were Stanley Cup contenders. Edmonton stopped them from winning the 84 Cup by beating them in the playoffs, and Stars, the Minnesota North Stars, eliminated Edmonton in that infamous 91 season where Edmonton was looking to defend their title. But it's the Stars have always been overachievers in my basic opinion. Now, when they won the Stanley Cup in 1984, they had a very hard go against the Flames in division final, winning the series 4-3. Now they had swept the Jets in the first round. Now they played the Stars in the semifinal round and won four straight. Now this is the same Stars team pretty much that made the Stanley Cup final against the Islanders a couple of years before. Now for a number of seasons, Edmonton was taking on their traditional rivals. And here's where it gets kind of freaky. The North Stars, or one of the last seasons of the North Stars, got their ultimate revenge by knocking off the Oilers in 91. Can you imagine a Stanley Cup between Pittsburgh and Edmonton? That would have sold out so many stuff. But the reason why the Oilers lost that year, it took them 12 games to knock off the Flames and Kings in succession, and he had no energy left for that final series. Now, Edmonton went a downturn in the mid 90s, failed to make the playoffs four straight years. They did defeat the Stars in 97 in the conference quarterfinals, but from then on, the Stars had their number. In 98, they were knocked off in the conference semifinals, lost in a round of 16 to the Stars in 99, lost in the conference quarterfinals and again Stars in 2000 and 2001. Then lost again in the first round to the Stars 4-2. This was the Ryan Smyth years. Now, they lost in the Stanley Cup final in 2006, and from then on did not make the playoffs for the next 10 seasons. Now, in 2017, they made it to the quarterfinal round and did not make the playoffs again for 2 years. Connor McDavid shows up and everything changes. So here we are in 2024. This is the third time that Edmonton has made it to the round of four, or the semifinals, and I really think it's going to be a very interesting series. So, ladies and gentlemen, the connection, like I said, the Stars lost Edmonton during the Gretzky years. The Stars bet Edmonton during the Messier years. The Stars were more successful against Edmonton in the Ryan Smyth years, and it became like an annual kind of joke where Edmonton would play the Stars first round, the Stars would overachieve. It did lead to one Stanley Cup under the Brett Hull years when the Stars were more dominant. I think what's going to be happening, ladies and gentlemen, if they can stop Connor McDavid and the Edmonton offense, and if the Stars defense can score a few goals, I figure Edmonton's going to win in 6. But like I said, my predictions are kind of rotten because I thought Toronto was going to outdo the Maple Leafs in the first round for obvious reasons, because I felt that their defense was kind of porous, that would not stop Austin Matthews. But you know what happened there, and they hired a coach even before the playoffs were done. So if you're a real Edmonton Oilers fan, when you see the Stars on the jersey beat a Minnesota or Dallas, it does put a bit of a fear. And it's too bad Bob Cole wasn't still alive to talk about the great calls he did when Edmonton finally bet Minnesota the Marshall goal. Not the Marshall you're thinking of, Todd Marchment anyway. But ladies and gentlemen, I think what's going to be happening here, this is going to be the most highly rated playoff series of a non-Toronto or Montreal team in decades. But Connor McDavid, looks like he's playing hurt. You know, he took that double cross check in that famous end of game incident. But I couldn't dig Vancouver this year because, I mean, it wasn't really a Canadian team per se, and the fans were acting kind of over the top. And, this is a team that won multiple Stanley Cups and took almost 10 years away from the playoffs until Connor showed up. So I think what's going to be happening is going to depend on the third periods. If Edmonton can win the third period, at least 4 games, they're going to win those games. They have to win the third period. Last night they were lucky; they were leading 3-0. They held on. That's not a championship team. That's a Montreal Canadiens team, circa 1987, and that's why they couldn't win the cup or defend the cup in '87 because the Flyers were too dominant, and that's what hurt them in 2021. Because with Tampa Bay, they would win every third period against Montreal. So what I want you to do, ladies and gentlemen, is go on YouTube, do a search of Dallas or Minnesota versus Edmonton. There's not too much video there of the '94 playoff series between Edmonton and Minnesota, and this is because obviously there were West Coast games, but Jim Houston and Don Whitman and Bob Cole, they did some really great calls for those games, and this is where I really miss Don Whitman, who was the voice of the Oilers, and really for Winnipeg and Calgary for years as well. It's pretty weird. But ladies and gentlemen, we got to find a way to convince the NHL to stop showing those games at 10 o'clock. If you want to get viewers across the states, you got to have a 9 o'clock start. I don't think people in Edmonton would be too mad to start at 5 o'clock or whatever time it would be, their time. So it's pretty freaky because a lot of people want to see Edmonton win, including my cousin Darren Dusa. That's a plug. Most people in Northern New Brunswick are still Gretzky fans. All the people I went to school with in Lorne and Jack River were Gretzky fans, even though they would lose. And my dad said something very interesting. I think Wayne Gretzky played in the World Championships. I think it had to be when they were eliminated early by the Kings. I think it was 82. And Dad said, I hope we never see Wayne Gretzky at the World Championships again unless it's Canada Cup. It was kind of bizarre seeing Gretzky at the Worlds where the team was knocked out. But that was the Gary Unger years, a bunch of filler. It takes a team effort. I look at Edmonton, and like I said, by the way, a shout out to Bouchard, 20 points in the first 2 rounds. That's Dennis Potvin style numbers. He's an early contender for the Connie Smyth. I know that. But the CC scoring a goal last night, you need a second line defenseman, no pun intended, and a third or fourth line to score goals to win anything. If you remember with Montreal, with Chartrand, Bouchard through the years, even big goals from Jimmy Roberts and Mark Tardif and Reginald Houle back in the day, you need those third and fourth lines producing because that's the goals you don't expect. That turns a 4-2 game into a 5-2 game. The idea, you got to survive. And if you get too many close games, the bigger team will win. And Edmonton can't have too many close games because size-wise, they're one of the smaller teams in the league. What Edmonton really should have done is maybe got a goon to play, but it's the way it goes. So enjoy the playoffs, and you like we're doing with our playoff predictions and historical podcast. Let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, and share. Bye.